Welcome to the Tuesday edition of Juan's World. And I am going to do a little bit of cooking. I might also get to be a little bit philosophical later on, but for the moment I'm cooking, and you can see I have these fruit which were designated in my market as otaete apples, which can also be called Malay apple. It's not really an apple. It's got kind of the consistency of an apple, but you wouldn't want to eat it raw. So what I've done first off here is I've parboiled them because I want to get the skins off, and then I'm going to make a crumble. So let's get started with that. So you can see that the parboiled fruit didn't take long to get to the point where the skin was coming off the fruit. At the top of the frame here you can see how the skin is really just coming right off even after just a few minutes of boiling. And once I'd peeled them, then I see here I cut open one, so as you can see it has a kind of core like a regular apple, except that it's all edible. And after only a few minutes the fruit is really quite soft. So what I'm going to do now is just quarter them all and put them in a baking dish and then cover with my crumble. Alright, so now you can see that I've peeled and quartered or halved the fruit and packed them into my dish. And over here I've got my crumble mix, which I've prepared same as before. I've got the oat powder and also rice flour, icing sugar and oil, same as before in the same proportions. 2 of oats, 2 of flour, 1 of sugar, 1 of oil, and now I'm going to pack this on top, and then the crumble will be ready to go in the oven. And so here we are, ready to go. I've packed the crumble on top of the fruit, and now I'm going to put it in a very hot oven, as hot as I can make it, which is about 250 degrees centigrade, for about 30 minutes. And just to complete the chameleon cooking, I'm making a fish pie, and you remember normally fish pie is mashed potato and fish baked in the oven, sometimes with some boiled eggs. I've got that here, but you'll notice it's green because I've added spinach to the potatoes, much as I did when I was making my cottage pie with the topping of potatoes and spinach. This time I cooked the spinach and potatoes together, so everything's green, and now I'm going to pop it in the oven. So here's the crumble after about 45 minutes of baking, and I did run it under the broiler as well as baking the bottom so that it had a nice brown top to it. And then over here we have the fish pie. I've got some salmon in it and some boiled eggs and the potatoes mixed with spinach. All right, so as you can see here, I have the oats that I've been using in my recipes, and this is the front, and has loads and loads of oats and a bowl with the oats in it, and then it also has a cracked egg and a cob of corn, which is a little bit deceptive. Now if you turn it over, I'm not sure if you can see very clearly, but I'll describe it anyway. Turn it over. Now on the back it has instructions for making the oatmeal, which is just basically that you boil water
and you put the oatmeal in a cup or a bowl and you pour some water on it and eat it. It's just regular oatmeal. What's inside it? Well, then you have to read this part here. And what's inside it is some corn flour, not surprising because we've got corn on the cover. No egg, but soybean milk powder. And so I'm not entirely sure. My Chinese reading is not that good, but it's basically a breakfast cereal, an instant oatmeal. And if you look inside, this is what I'm using. Each one, individual packs for your breakfast. Let's see. That's one side. So it's the same images as on the big package itself. And I need to use about 4 of these to make a cup of my oat equivalent. And so it's 1 cup of oats, 1 cup of flour, and in this case I'm using rice flour, half a cup of sugar, and in this case I'm using icing sugar, and half a cup of oil, or it could be butter. It's up to you. I use oil for convenience more than anything else. And I'm using the rice flour and the icing sugar just to use them up. I've got other kinds of flours and other kinds of sugars, but I don't use icing sugar very often, don't use rice flour very often, and I've got tons of it here. And so I'm just trying to use up a little bit. And it just turns out that combination with these breakfast oats is a superb crumble topping. Who knew?
So when I parboiled the Malay apples, I used a mixture of sugar and water, and then I took the apples out and made my crumble and everything, and then I took the water that was remaining and now I'm reducing it. I had actually added a little bit of allspice to the syrup, but the main flavor comes from the skins, which are surprisingly flavorful. So I'm just now reducing the sugar water that I parboiled the apples in to make a syrup. And this apparently is what they do commonly here in Southeast Asia.
So here is the liquid reduced considerably. In fact, it's very close to a kind of preserve or what Americans would call a jelly, although it's got some fruit mixed into it. Might be almost a kind of a preserve. But anyway, it's really citrusy. It's got a distinctive taste. I can't really describe it, and I don't have a smellograph or a tastergraph to translate it for you. I could thin it down a little bit to make it an actual syrup, or it's close to thick enough that I could just serve it on bread. Don't know. It's very, very nice, but what we would call an adult taste, I guess. So anyway, if you've liked this video, tell your friends about all my videos. Please like, please subscribe, and I'll see you on Friday with some musings, I think, about language, but I'm not sure yet. So have a good week.